All right, let's get this party started here. Nice fat chunky one to start the morning. So I've been to three spots this morning in deeper water, looking to try and find a group of fish that I can jig. And I was unsuccessful. So I came up on the top of this flat in the weeds, and I busted out old Mr. Orange Hammer. And I've got a 7-inch curly tail worm super glued on this. No live bait for me. I'm not anti live bait. I just don't like dealing with it. And especially in the mornings early for a little while, it's just kind of a pain in the tuchus. So I'm just letting that get right down into the bottom and creeping it through those stalks. And that fish right there, I was hung on a stalk of weed, and I didn't want to rip it through there. I just wanted to get it free. As soon as it got free, it was heavy, and he was like this. So stay tuned. Let's see if we've got a little bit of a pattern going here. What's up? What's up? So I'm just finishing up here. It's almost 7:30. I have fished 4 spots. I checked 3 other spots that I didn't fish. I didn't find anything. I have fished 4 spots. I've caught fish in all 4 spots. Couple walleyes, couple pickerel, all on horizontal stuff. I've been throwing the hammer harness and a swim bait. I did throw a bucktail and I threw a blade bait for quite a while in a little deeper water, over what I thought was a pretty good picture, and no bueno. So I came back in shallow, and I'm finishing up in here. Although I did just slide off the edge. I'm in 14. I still got pretty good weeds down right on the bottom 5 feet. I don't think that there's a depth that you can only fish the hammer in. I think a lot of guys are in that 10, 8 to 12 foot range, because that's where you get good weeds. But by no means do I think that that's the limit, shallow or deep, for it. Yesterday we were in 21 foot of water jigging, and I took a few minutes and threw it out there too and let it hit the bottom. Chucked it as far downwind as I could get it. Let it hit the bottom, and then started slow retrieving. I would drag a harness out there if I was trolling a harness, so why wouldn't I cast one out there? So, like I say, it's such a versatile lure. In a very versatile lure, and very much a search bait. I don't put live bait on mine, so I can really whip it around and be a little more aggressive with it. I don't know if that helps or hurts. But I've got a plastic worm, and that's super glued on. And then I put the point of the hook back up inside it, so it's as weedless as it could be. Now that doesn't mean that you always come through weedless. That's not true. But it's pretty weedless. Between that blade spinning, keeping the weed off the hook, and the hook point being covered, you can really come through some stuff. And a lot of times, that first one you guys saw this morning, I had hit the weed stalk. I could feel it, and the rod started to load up, and I just kept tension on it and kept cranking it real slow because I wanted it to break free from that without having to jerk it. And that's classic right from the mouth of Brian Hammond, owner and designer of these hammer spinners. He'll tell you the same exact thing. You want it to look like it's crawling up that weed stalk like this, and then all of a sudden, boom, it breaks free. A lot of times that's when that bite gets triggered. That fish is down in there watching it, and it does something different. So, you can do a lot of things in these weed beds. I haven't done it this year yet, but I have done in the past, and I've done very well. Taking quarter-ounce bucktails and throw them in the weeds and let them make sure that they're in bottom, and then just start ripping them through those weeds. It's amazing how many walleyes you'll catch in there doing that. And you can do the same thing with a swim bait. To me, I do it with a swim bait too that doesn't have much action, that's a stiffer body. And I only do it with a screw lock jig head, so you don't keep pulling it off, ripping it down the hook shank. That screw lock really holds it in place. Now that Berkley power bait, which one is it? Grass Devil. It's a paddle tail, but it's not a very it doesn't have much action. It's very stiff, but for that situation, it works pretty well. A lot of the old time walleye guys will tell you that if they're going to fish in shallow in the weeds or over the weeds, that they're using a number 5 hammered silver Colorado blade as opposed to a willow. We all seem to use the willows, and they work. Those guys will tell you a couple red beads behind a hammered silver Colorado blade, and boy, that's the ticket in shallow for walleyes. Yeah, maybe it looks like that round profile. Maybe it looks like a shad, or I don't know, hard to say. Bleeding shad with those couple red beads behind it. I don't know. So much of fishing is theory, and so much of the theory is if you believe in it. If you believe that it be true, then I think you automatically put that intention out into the ether, and it tends to be a self-fulfilling prophecy and then come true. Like for me, every month when I get in Fisherman, I look at that magazine and that publication and that group of writers and the whole thing as like the Bible, and whatever they say I believe automatically. And I many times if there's an article in there, whether it be smallmouth or largemouth, or sometimes I've had the catfish articles, and if I read it and it really resonates with me, and I can go apply it to the body of water that I'm fishing, most days it's Oneida, then I'll find that I'll go out and do that exact technique in the exact location that they say, find it, put it together, and it works. And I'm always a little surprised, but I guess I shouldn't be surprised, because I knew going out that I had confidence in it, because I trust the information that they put out in that magazine. It's no different than a fishing buddy that you have that's just super fishy, and you just have that confidence that when you guys are together, you're going to get them. Whether that's the positive vibe between the two, whether that's just, success over time, but you believe it. And the contrary is true. There are days you go out and you're like, oh man, nothing's the way I want it. Nothing's right. It's going to be a struggle. Lo and behold, it's a struggle because you believed it was going to be. And And that's a big, hey, listen, everything I talk about, quite honestly, are things that I'm expressing on my own behalf, and I'm just talking to you guys. Because I can tell you unequivocally, the days that I come out here and I have a preset intention that's there, in my head already, whether it be a spot, a technique, you know, a feeling, whatever, and I come out with that belief that exactly what I'm thinking is going to happen and transpire, it usually does. And the converse of that is when I come out and I'm undecided or I'm negative or whatever the case may be, well, lo and behold, next thing you know, I haven't done squat. It's time to go, and I'm sitting here going, it didn't really come together today. But I believe that that's mental. And all of my friends in the tournament fishing world, whether it be bass or walleye, they'll tell you the same exact thing. You have got to come out with, I don't want to necessarily say the word a plan, but you've got to go do things that you believe in, that you're confident in, will work in this situation, and then go and do it because you already believe in it. You hear the term manifesting in our world today. And manifesting is bringing something from the realm down into reality for yourself. And I really think that fishing is the ultimate manifest exercise, because there hasn't been a single spot this morning where I fished that there wasn't fish. Maybe some bodies of water that's not the case, but on Nida Lake, if you had to take a section of this lake, I don't care where it is, there's fish there. Now, there's a lot of different factors to that, but it's not like there were no fish where I was this morning in any one of these spots. Now, the why didn't you catch them can be a myriad, a laundry list of things. Sometimes you pull into a spot and, again, I'll say me. Sometimes, I'll pull into a spot and I've already wrote it off before I've even made my first cast. I'm like, this isn't really where I want to be. And I'm looking around, or I'm making the cast and I'm like, this really isn't the lure I want to be fishing. I should be fishing this. And then that indecision, you're sending out these mixed signals. You're not focused. And to me, that's when luck comes into play, and you're lucky if you do something. Focus, grasshopper. That, I believe, is really the essence and the key of all fishing. You could say that's the same thing for all of life, but I believe that is truly... And I don't have a magic pill that says, okay, well, you're going to come right out and you're going to focus on one thing and it's going to automatically work, and it's not that simple, I'm sure. But indecision and anxiety are sending mixed messages out into the universe, and they don't know what you really want because you don't know what you really want. And so it's hard to get what you don't know that you want. A lot of people I know are very single-minded, and I would expect if you went and polled, some of the greatest tournament fishermen ever, like a KVD or a Gary Roach or those kind of people, I would be willing to bet that they are just single-minded. That willpower, that iron will. I'm going to do this here like this for this long, and I'm going I'm going to have this amount of success, and then they just are locked right in on it. If you guys remember, this was 3 years ago, maybe 4. I did a video with Chancey Walters. He was, at the time, he was a Douglas Rods Pro. He was here fishing the BASS Open. And I interviewed him the first morning. I jumped in his boat with him the first morning of the tournament while he was launching, and we, while we were waiting in line and coming around, and him and I had a chance to talk. And one of the things we talked about was his plan for the day, his plan, how he was going to attack this lake after his pre-fishing and his practice sessions, and where he thought what certain things were and whatnot. He went out. I saw him later that evening. After weigh-ins, he didn't weigh nearly what he wanted to. Didn't have the best of days. And the first thing he said to me, he kind of smiled when he saw me walking up, and he goes, "Matt, I didn't stick to my plan. I let this thing spin." And he goes, "The next thing you know, I was all over the place doing all kinds of different things." And he goes, "I was really just spinning out." And he said that for me is, at the time he said that to me, he goes, "That for me is the most challenging part of tournament fishing. Because if you just put me on a body of water and tell me to go catch some fish," he goes, "I can do that." He goes, "I have confidence I can do that anywhere." He goes, "But," he goes, "this morning I got to my first spot. There was somebody already there." So he goes, "That threw me off." And he said, "I went to my second spot and I didn't get them like I had before." And he goes, "By the third spot," he goes, "I was second guessing everything I had set up and thought I believed in." And he ended up not having a very successful tournament. But I thought that was so telling, and I've never forgot that. I've never forgot that conversation with him. And he was very real and open and honest, and it was just the way it was, Not to say that it couldn't ever be overcome, but it's in those guys at those high-level tournaments, I imagine it's easy to let that pressure get to you. The reverse of that is those guys that do extremely well on the biggest stages, I just believe that they have blocked everything else out in their own mind. That voice in your head that's like, this isn't right, or you're not, whatever negativity, it just, boom, pushes that, squeezes it right out of your head. And I firmly believe that that's one of the most key factors in your success as a fisherman, in anything in life, but certainly as a fisherman, is believing in what you're doing is the right thing at the right time, at the right place, with the right equipment. And having that single-mindedness to focus on what you're trying to accomplish. So, that's my morning in a nutshell. I want to thank you guys for joining me. Big time. And I'll be back out here tomorrow morning. I should have my boat back this week, I hope. I miss it. I miss my boat and my electronics and my trolling motor and my spot lock and all those things. But this is a beautiful boat to fish out of. And if it was mine and I had more time with it, it would really feel like a different rig. But it's been great, and it's so nice to have a loaner while my boat's being fixed. So, all right, thank you everybody. Have a great day. Keep your tip up.